Buh. 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 Oh. Chunky chat. How y'all doing today, Chunky? Everyone's chunky in their own special way today. Welcome to the stream. I hope we're all doing well. That was Sylvalum from Xenoblade X, and previously we were listening to Oblivia, also from Xenoblade X. Hey, you know, I figured we could start today's stream with a little bit of a just a little ramble about that Xenoblade X trailer, because I never really touched on it, because the one day when it was live, or when it like was revealed, I wasn't streaming that night because I had to stay over for work, so I couldn't. And then I kind of talked about it a little bit while we were playing Louis Mansion the other night, and then I didn't stream last night. So let me just let me get some Primordia music in. I just want to like briefly go over that trailer with you all, and then we'll get into video games. Don't worry, it won't be an hour of me yapping about this. It's just gonna be a little thing. This was something I thought of like literally in the moment. I was like, I kind of want to talk about this, but yeah, here we go. All right, first of all, Primordia. There's the music for that. Hold up. Just let me get set up, and then we'll start talking about this. But I hope you're all doing well. Let me get the trailer actually pulled up, and then we can all look at it together. Xenoblade X trailer. So first of all, if you're new to the stream somehow, or maybe you're watching this VOD later, there's something you need to know about me. I'm gonna show you something on your screen. Be wary. That is a coelacanth, okay? And this, what you're watching right now, this stream, is the hopeless addict of a Xenoblade gamer. I have played every Xenoblade game. I have not played any of the extended Xeno games, like Xenosaga, Xenogears. I was actually, if I can let you in on a little insider secret here, before this announcement was made, I was in two camps. I was either going to wait for an announcement of a Xenosaga remake, because that's been a rumbling been going around, or I was just gonna play it because I have Xenosaga. I have Xenosaga 1, 2, and 3 for the PS2. I would have just like borrowed a PS2 from someone, or God forbid, just buy my own, right? You're making a mistake coming here around the time as Xenoblade is announced. Someone in chat just said, I don't know what that's supposed to mean. But no, you're making a good thing, because you and I, we're about to be real good friends. Remember that chat member, Shulk Hogan, from the Mario Eclipse streams? I hope they listen to this VOD, because this is for you, Shulk. You and I, we agree on something, and that is the Monado is the way to go, brother. Okay, hang on. I need to get a display capture going. Display capture. Which monitor is this? Oh God, no, we want that one. Okay, so if you weren't aware of how much of a fucking Xenoblade nut I am, here is my social security info that I have saved to my desktop. Let me just dox myself. No, there was nothing important there, I don't think. But yes, this is my desktop wallpaper on one of them. I have different Xenoblade wallpapers on each of my monitors, but this image especially goes hard now that Xenoblade X is relevant again. I had this as my wallpaper before the announcement, for the record. All right, we're gonna down mix the Primordia music now, though. And I just wanted to briefly, talk about this. Look at this person. I haven't seen their review. Oh, we should watch the Wii U Exploration X trailer. What do you think about that? Or new title developed by Monolith Software from 11 years ago. No, we're gonna do this one. So I have seen this whole trailer, but just very briefly, very fast. Let's watch Spanish. What's so special about the Spanish trailer? I don't think we get to hear Tatsu, so I don't want to hear. I don't get to hear Spanish Tatsu. Okay. It's in Spanish. Well, you sold me there. Where do I find it? I actually... Okay, hang on. Well, here's what I'm going to tell you something. I'm going to tell you something. Xenoblade X is sort of the black sheep of the Xenoblade franchise for those who are uninitiated. Just a brief rundown, I guess. Xenoblade 1 comes out in 2011 on the Wii, which almost didn't come out in America, which is why it has British voice acting, because it was NOE that decided to go through with it instead of NOA. And so then comes the Wii U, and NOA is like, okay, fine, we like Xenoblade. So NOA decides to direct the English localization of this game, Xenoblade X. Now, initially, Xenoblade X or Xenoblade 1 sold all right. It did fine. It wasn't like a huge success like Xenoblade has been now. It was a bit obscure when it first came out. But these days, Xenoblade has picked up more steam, especially because Shulk's in Smash. But I remember I actually played Xenoblade X on release. I even have the guidebook, the Prima game guidebook to Xenoblade X, which I kind of think when I stream the game, I'm just going to pull it out every now and then and just see if there's anything fun in there. But what makes it so different is Xenoblade 1, 2, and 3 are all directly connected story-wise. Like, is that spoilers? Kind of, but not really. It's not immediately obvious how they're connected, but they are more connected seemingly than X is, even though spoiler feature redeemed kind of makes X also be part of it, but that's a whole side tangent for a different video. But for the longest time, Xenoblade 1 comes out, and then immediately following it was Xenoblade X. And then 2 comes out, and then X is kind of just like deemed its own weird side experiment. There are some things that this game didn't do right. Like, its UI was tiny. Its font size was damn near illegible, especially when you're looking at it on the Wii U gamepad. And then the faces looked like... well, actually, let me pull it up real quick. Xenoblade X faces. Let me show you. Let me show you the faces in Xenoblade X. All right, so here's an image of the main character Elma. One of the main characters, I guess technically Cross is the main character, but come on, it's really Elma, the star of the show. And here's like the character creator. So yeah, Cross is like the default name for your created character, who's really the main character. You can't exist in the game without Cross in your party. I don't believe, but you can unequip Elma, and it's a whole thing. But yeah, this is basically the original art style. Everyone looked like dolls initially. Like, yeah, look at some of these faces. It's weird. Like, I know a lot of people complain about how Xenoblade 2 looks, but the weirdest part about it is they have these really doll-like anime-ish faces, but the body proportions are like extremely like real. Like they're the realist in here. I don't really see a good example of that here, but just take my word for it. These characters have interesting proportions compared to their faces and their bodies. Here's kind of an example. It's kind of hard to see. I'll pull that up. Okay, well, that's an article. But yeah, take my word for it, right? So now, what do the faces look like?
Well, here we are. Not too shabby, huh?
I think they look way better. They don't look like creepy, weird dolls, which is funny because in Japanese the skulls are called dolls. But yeah, they kind of remind me of the Xenoblade 1 faces in the remake, but they more just kind of look just good. I think if a lot of people complained about Xenoblade 1 being too anime, I feel like this is a good middle ground with the original art style versus making it more in line with how Monolith has currently been making their games look. Which, by the way, Xenoblade Chronicles X, developed by Monolith Soft, the devs of the Xenoblade games, of course, but as you may more know them as, is the people who designed the world of Breath of the Wild. If it wasn't for Monolith Soft, who knows how that world could have turned out, but I think Xenoblade X walked so Breath of the Wild could run. This is a completely open world game, whereas the other Xenoblades are open world-ish. They're just big areas with a lot to explore. But there's still, like, especially Xenoblade 1 is pretty linear. Xenoblade 2 has its moments of linearity. But Xenoblade X, you can straight up go to what would technically be the final continent of the game, like straight from the get-go. You don't even have to go to NLA. And it's cool. I don't remember hating Xenoblade X. I know a lot of people, especially after the trilogy of the Xenoblade numbered games was concluded, a lot of people kind of came to the conclusion of, yeah, Xenoblade X is fine, but it's not nearly as good as these things. But what Xenoblade X does well is its gameplay and its exploration. Its story was lacking in some areas. It didn't have nearly the same kinds of twists as Xenoblade 1 and especially 2 had. I'd say its story is on par with Xenoblade 3, though. And Xenoblade 3 had a good story, but it was lacking in some areas as well. Unless you're counting Future Redeemed, in which case that's all blown out of the water. But, that's beside the point. I think that this game has a good enough story for what it's worth. But the story isn't the main focus. For me, it's the gameplay and just being in the world. So... Sorry, this big rant, I know.
But
also, the audio mixing is better. Look at that dog!
We took the name from the city it was modeled after back on Earth.
NLA has forever been the stupidest name, though, however. Like, I get it. I get what they're going for. And it does remind me a lot of Los Angeles as someone who's sort of lived there in my past. It does give me the vibe, but, like, I don't know. It's... They could have maybe came up with some other name for it, but also it makes sense. It's quite literally, these are people that came from, like, Los Angeles, because it takes place after real world Earth blows up.
We call it New Los Angeles.
Look at that. Look at the face on Elma here. Hang on. Just look at her eyes. I wonder if I can find this frame on, let's see. Can I find Xenoblade Chronicles X Elma? Let's see. Do I get this exact frame anywhere? Well, here's what she looked like in Xenoblade 2. I didn't like the way she looked in Xenoblade 2 personally. It's not the exact frame, but here's Elma, head on. I think I like the new design more. It's the model of, like, the body is, like, more or less the same, but the face is what's gotten the biggest upgrade. And I think it's nice. I like the way that the eyes look much better. Much, much better. Elma was the only good human design originally. Y'all remember Doug? Yo, Doug was the fucking shit. And no, it's not why I call myself Douglas, but there was a character in this called Doug. And he sounded like this. Hey, Peter. I'm not even joking. Wait till you get the game. Why would you want to replicate LA in the new world? LA is so bad. Double cry emoji. Well, I think it was more, if I remember myself, sorry, I can't speak and read chat at the same time. If I remember correctly, what happens in the lore, and this is like opening cutscene stuff, so I don't care about spoiling this. The White Whale, which was the ship that they used to flee Earth as it was about to be blown up. Well, there were several ships in Project Exodus, but the White Whale was the ship that left from LA itself. And on board the ship, they had not a replica of LA itself, but just a small little, I say small as if all of this in the background is quote unquote small, but they had just a habitat area, I guess. Think of like Wall-E sort of ish. And they built a city within the habitat area. And then when the ship crash lands, NLA survives the crash and is now on a new planet.
We call
that's
it
the
New
that's the
Los
lore.
Angeles. Welcome to NLA.
I will not be using defaults as cross, by the way, for my playthrough. I will I'm gonna spend like 2 hours doing the customization of the character. This is gonna be worse than fucking Miitopia.
Together, we resolved
Because in
to forge a
Miitopia I
new
could
way
edit
of
it
life
later,
here on
and
Mira.
you
Come
can
what
do
may.
that in X, but it takes a while before you get to redo your character. But the coolest part for me about X is what you just saw back there, the skells. You don't get them until like halfway through the main story, which depending on how you play the game could be like 100 hours in. But they're cool as shit. I always loved the design mechs, the design of the mechs in Xenoblade 1. And then obviously Xenoblade 2 does a bunch of mech stuff, and 3 has less, but there's still some. And just in general, Tetsuya Takahashi games just love their mechs. So X is kind of unique. I think Gears does it as well, but you can actually play as the mech, and everyone can have their own mech. They're like basically cars. They're really expensive in game too. But you can drive them around. You can fight with them. And trust me when I say this, some things you will want to fight with the mechs because they are fucking huge and you cannot fight them as human. I mean, you can, but you're just going to die. But they can also fly around, which is super fucking cool. That you don't get the ability till like almost the end of the game to fly with the mech. So I remember you unlock the mech around like chapter 6, and it's like not until 9 or 10 that you can fly with them. So they really hold out on letting you like fully explore the world. But I think it's for the best, because the world of Mira is one of my favorite worlds to just wander around in. I had a lot of that with Tears of the Kingdom and Breath of the Wild. But I do think I like this world more, even if there's less to do in the world. Like yeah, you have shrines and shit all over the place in Zelda, and those are cool. You'll find yourself just kind of running a lot in this, which is why the mechs are handy. But I don't know. The design of the world itself, like this giant ring here in, that you can kind of see here in, what was the name? Oblivia. That was a cool piece of architecture. I remember liking Noctilum and Sylvalum a lot as well. Primordia is all right. And I don't remember much about Cauldros, except it's the only time in a Xenoblade game that we've had a lava area. But yeah, that's a gazelle, as you may or may not know from my famous debate. This isn't even close to the size of enemies. There's like actual dinosaurs that are like too big to fit on screen even when you're in the mech. I don't think they show any of them in this trailer. That bug back there, that's basically the Rotbart of this game, for those who know what that means. It's like within the first few moments, I think. Or no, this is in Noctilum. Well, there is like a big bug. I remember it at the near NLA. That's basically the Rotbart of the game.
New LA was our beautiful lie to
Okay, so this is an interesting thing. I don't remember if this happens in this original shot, but I saw someone on Twitter mention this. So notice here, and click out if you don't care about light implication spoilers. In 3, 2, 1. But notice how the planet goes white here? I don't think it does that in the original game. I could be wrong. But might I remind you what happens in Xenoblade 1 and how now apparently these games are connected. It could just be a decision for the transition. That's true. But also, you know, this could line up sort of ish with what's going on in Xenoblade 2. The only thing is, without getting into spoilers, some things don't add up in like how that would be connected. But, you know, that, again, that's for another time.
New LA was our beautiful lie to
I want people to play this game and enjoy it. But here's Lynn. Lynn's face looks much nicer now, I think. They removed the Monado hairpin. Actually, I lied. Just kidding. Also, here's the best character of all time. I find it hilarious that nowhere in this trailer do we get to see Tatsu's face because he is shunned from the community forever. Oh, we kind of see the side of his face there, but not really.
Heading into the unknown.
I'm wondering... Oh, there's that big-ass dinosaur I was talking about right there. I'm wondering how Frontier Nav is going to work. For those who don't know, it was... you had a map on the gamepad that gave you a lot of data. It was a little bit more than just a map. You had to, like... You could see, like, where you can place, like, landmark pins and fast traveling. I'm sure it'll just be a menu. Which is fine, but I don't know. I kind of like having the live map at all times. But I digress. It's not that important in the grand scheme of things.
Our native home was gone, swallowed in...
There's Lau. Him. Look at him with his Matthew Mercer voice.
And our future was...
Oh, and this is the other major plot element of the game, for those who are uninitiated, is this number here, 60%. That's the amount of percentage that the Lifehold has, which basically, without getting into spoilers, as you play the game, no, it doesn't tick down in real time, but as you play the game, this number gets lower, and if it hits 0%, all of humanity dies. Because the Lifehold basically has what keeps us alive. And I know it doesn't make a lot of sense early on, like how that could have anything to do with anything, but it is relevant.
Uncertain. We had no idea what fate lay in store for us. Only that we had to keep living.
Thanks, Morgana, for the voiceover, by the way. Same voice actress. Lin Li Ku and Morgana, same cat person. Now, I'm sure this will probably change, but I love how this is just straight up the same definitive edition text and font from Xenoblade 1, minus, like, it doesn't have the feathers over it. Because, you know, no future connected. But I think the new stuff we're getting will be connected. Future connected? No, I definitely think that it will be connected because of this right here.
Fancy seeing you here.
A lot of people think that that voice is David Mencken, which I don't fully hear. But some people think it's Ray Chase. I don't know who that guy is. Ray Chase is already in the game. If I'm not mistaken, Ray Chase is L in this game, right? But yeah, 6 days before my birthday, my girlfriend keeps telling me she's gonna buy this game for me, but I keep telling her there's no way in hell that I'm waiting. And she's like, oh, I'll just get you an eShop card and preload the game for you. I'm like, no. You see, if there's a special edition, I'm getting that too. There is no announcement of one, and there may not be one. But if there is, I'm buying it. I have all the other Xenoblade special editions. It's an Organization 13 member. Yeah, it kind of does look like one.
Fancy.
Someone just called me a freak. You're a freak! I'm not a freak. All right, maybe I'm a Xeno freak though. But yeah, the major thing with this right here, and that is on your screen, is this motherfucker. So at the end of the original game, this guy wasn't here. Well, I think he was, but like we don't get to see him suggest like he's about to take off his hood like he does here. And also, I don't believe he says anything. So basically what they've already pretty much confirmed is that they're adding more to the story. So that weird cliffhanger where it's like, oh, they're definitely setting up a sequel game with this, which other Xenoblade games don't really do. They end their games as if that's the end of the franchise every fucking time. Except for this one, which was like super like sequel bait, like almost like there's something about this planet, and then there's this scene of Lao on the beach, which initially without this dude. But now we're getting implications that the story will continue into the post game, which there was more like heart to hearts and shit in post game, but it wasn't like substantial story stuff. So I'm hoping we can finally get a conclusive finale to the game that doesn't feel like it's sequel baity. Not that I hate that, because I would still love like an X2 at some point if it's appropriate. But, you know, I would also like it if the game just kind of doesn't blue balls you at the end. Would be nice. But yeah, this is a great game. Obviously, if you are into MMOs, there is the multiplayer aspect of this as well. I have not really played this much as an MMO. In fact, I've never played it multiplayer before. I hear it's just like some fights. Like you don't actually get to explore the world together, which is a bit of a shame. But maybe they'll be willing to adjust that since they're adding like post-game stuff. You know, maybe they'll be willing to use some of that data from the Nintendo playtest program where they were building an MMO. Wouldn't it be nice to just explore Mira with your friends? I think that would be fucking awesome. Gabe would do a 4815947 foot tall. I'm not gonna bother translating that backflip into a Best Buy if they had an exclusive steelbook as the special edition. I did actually almost buy the Xenoblade Special Edition, like when it first came out for this game. But I passed up on it because I was a kid. I think this game came out, what, 2014? So, like, it was like right around the time I first got a job. And I was considering saving up for it, but ultimately I believe my savings went towards a PC. So we'll see. Xenoblade X2, but it's a future version of Ohio. See, you say that, but it's funny because Xenoblade 3 had Ohio in it in the DLC, and I'm not joking. And that's all I'll say about that. Scott the Waz was there. He went, "Hey, all. Doesn't X have New York?" I mean, I believe they mention New York by name, but this is NLA that you're in. 2 kind of has like a Tokyo-ish area, but we're getting into spoiler territory there. Which, I mean, anyone who's watching my streams, are you really coming here because you've never played Xenoblade before? I know, like, my girlfriend is in chat, and I'm going to try to convince her to play through these games. So, like, that's more where I'm coming from here. Otherwise, I would just be like, nah, fucking Ryan dies 8 times. And yeah, it's he's like, now it's no longer Ryan time every time he dies. But yes, I don't think I have anything else to really add to this. I know there's plenty of other people who could give you more comprehensive guides. I think Luxin did like an hour-long video where he went over like some of the deeper story implications. I will say the lighting looks a little better. The graphics look a little better. Also, You want to know what's fucking hilarious? So this Xenoblade X, before the optimization patches, yes, Xenoblade X on Wii U had like 12 gigs worth of optimization patches or something like that. The game was 22 gigabytes on Wii U. This version of this game, which has more content, and I would assume doesn't need data packs like that because maybe they just know what they're doing a little better. This game is 500 is 1500 megabytes, or 15 gigs. So somehow the game is smaller with more content and better textures, and I don't know how they do it. Monolith is a bunch of programming gods. They are genuinely incredible, like, programming wizards over there. I don't know how they do it. I think that concludes my Xenoblade X ramble. So now we can go back into streaming games normally while I don't have to, like, ramble. I mean, generally, yeah, Nintendo games tend to be pretty small in size. I know Monolith has helped a lot with various aspects at Nintendo. So, like, Nintendo helped Monolith get off its feet after the unsuccess of the Xenosaga franchise. And, they provided funding to them. And then Monolith basically returned the favor to Nintendo by showing them a lot of, like, cool, like, programming shit. And that's why Monolith is very integral to the success of Breath of the Wild. Like, I'm not just saying that because, like, I love Xenoblade and I want more people to play it, because honestly, compared to where the franchise was when this originally came out, I'd say Xenoblade is now one of Nintendo's, like, tentpole franchises. I don't feel like I need to, like, indoctrinate everyone on it anymore. Like, I definitely felt that. Like, I was like, everyone's got to try it so that way Monolith can have all the money. But now I'm just like, yeah, play it if you want. It's not going to be everyone's cup of tea, especially, because they're fucking long ass games. And if you don't get into it, then you don't get into it, right? But all right, thank you for listening to my Xenoblade X ramble. I can't wait to play this. I will be streaming it day one. Even if I've retired from streaming by then, I will find a way to stream it once again. And it's going to be something beautiful. I promise you. But who's ready for 2 hours on the character creator, huh?